The wine was expensive. The lighting was soft golden. Crystal glasses sparkled under a chandelier that looked like it belonged in a palace. The dining room table was dressed to impress. Linen napkins, silverware arranged like it was a five-star restaurant. From the outside, this looked like a celebration, a family gathering filled with love, laughter, and pride. But the truth? This room was colder than the wine. Every smile felt like it had been painted on in the mirror moments before. My father kept adjusting his tie over and over again. My mother's hands trembled as she placed the final roll on a porcelain plate. Ryan, my brother, poured himself a drink before even saying hello. And Caitlin, my sister, was glued to her phone like it was a life raft. This wasn't a dinner. This was a stage, and we were all playing roles. And deep down, I knew something was off. I just didn't know how bad it was going to get. My name is Morgan Walker. I'm 32 years old, and until recently, I thought I knew who my family was. I'm a graphic designer, freelance. Before the pandemic, things were going well. I had steady clients, enough to afford a small apartment in the city, and I was slowly paying off my student loans. But when COVID hit, I lost 60% of my income overnight. And while I told the world I was managing, I was eating canned soup by candlelight, wondering how I'd make rent. I never told my parents. Not because I didn't need help, but because I knew exactly what they'd say. We told you to get a real job. My mother, Catherine, and my father, Thomas, have always been respectable. On the outside, a school administrator and an insurance manager. Always in control, always fine. But behind the curated smiles and middle-class charm, they were hiding something. I just didn't know it yet. The only person I trusted was Grandma Elaine. She saw me not just the version I showed the world. She taught me how to paint when I was 7. She gave me my first camera when I turned 13. And when I told her I wanted to study art instead of business, she didn't flinch. "Follow your passion, Morgan," she said. "Life is too short to live for someone else's approval." I didn't know it yet, but in the weeks ahead, her words would be the only thing keeping me sane. The conversation had gone quiet. Dessert had been served. Tiramisu, perfectly layered. Everyone was pretending to enjoy it. That's when Grandma Elaine looked up from her plate. Her eyes, sharp as ever, landed on me. "Morgan, darling," she said sweetly, "is the $2,000 I send you every month still enough?" I froze, spoon in midair, mouth slightly open, eyes flicking to my mother, my father, then back to Grandma, because I had no idea what she was talking about. $2,000 every month? I hadn't seen a single cent. The room stopped breathing. My mom's face turned pale. My dad looked like someone had just unplugged him from the wall. Ryan spilled a bit of his drink. Caitlin's fingers went still over her phone screen. And me? I just whispered, "What money?" No one moved. No one blinked. And that was the moment the perfect image of my family cracked. "What money?" I repeated, a little louder this time. The air in the room felt like glass, thin, fragile, about to shatter. Grandma Elaine blinked, clearly thrown off. Her eyes shifted from me to my mother. Mom's face was frozen in a polite, trembling smile, the kind you give when you're desperately trying to keep a secret. "Oh, Mother, I think there's a little mix-up," she said, voice strained and unnatural. We've been handling that for Morgan." "Handling what?" I asked, heart racing. "What have you been handling for me?" My father suddenly found his dessert very interesting. He didn't look up. Didn't say a word. "Mom," I pressed again. "What money are you talking about?" For a second, just a second, I saw fear flash across her eyes. Then came the spin. It was an emergency account for your medical bills," she blurted out. Silence. Total, deafening. I stared at her. Medical bills. I was healthy. I had no condition, no treatments, no diagnoses. And that's when I saw it. The look on Grandma's face, confusion, followed by horror, then rage. Grandma Elaine sat back in her chair. Her fork clinked softly against her plate. She didn't look at me. She looked at my mother. Her voice, when it came, was quiet. Too quiet. "Catherine, are you telling me that Morgan doesn't know about the monthly transfers I've been sending her?" My mom swallowed hard. "It must be some kind of misunderstanding, Mother." "No," Grandma said, voice like ice. "This is not a misunderstanding." She reached into her handbag, pulled out a folder, neat, slim, and very intentional. "5 years ago," she said, "Morgan came to me struggling. She was trying to stay afloat after losing her biggest client. I told her I'd help, that I'd send $2,000 a month directly into her emergency fund." I stared, barely breathing. "I've done that faithfully," she continued, "every single month, without fail." Her eyes locked onto my father now. "Thomas, you were the one who gave me the bank details." Dad looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. He said nothing. "You told me it was Morgan's account," Grandma said, her voice trembling now. "You said she was sick." "What?" I gasped. "I've never been sick. Ever." "I know," Grandma whispered. "I know that now." And suddenly, the room didn't just feel cold. It felt poisoned. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. A terrible, stupid mistake. Something they could explain. But then, Grandma turned to me, gently placed a second document on the table. "Morgan," she said softly, "this is the trust fund your grandfather and I set up for your college tuition. It was meant to cover all your educational expenses in full." My hands trembled as I flipped through the paperwork. Dates, signatures, transfer records, amounts that were supposed to pay for my degree. "But I've been paying off student loans for years," I whispered. "I know," Grandma said, voice full of regret. "You never should have had to." I turned to my parents, my voice shaking. "Where is that money?" My mother's face hardened. "We used it," she snapped. "We had bills, emergencies. Life is expensive, Morgan." "So you stole it," I said, stunned. "You watched me work 2 jobs, eat ramen noodles for dinner, cry over late rent while you spent my tuition money." Dad tried to speak. It wasn't stealing. We're your parents." "We did what we had to do." "No," I said, my voice rising, cracking. "You didn't do what you had to do. You did what was easy, and you let me suffer while you lived comfortably off my future." In that moment, I saw it clearly. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theft from their own daughter, and they wore their guilt like a badge of entitlement. I wasn't the only one at the table holding back rage. Ryan, my older brother, the one who always played by the rules. The one who followed our father's path into finance. The golden child. He'd been quiet all night, refilling his glass, staring into it like it held all the answers. Until now, he let out a low, bitter laugh. Not amused, broken. "You did the same thing to me, didn't you?" My parents froze. "You told me the college fund had run out," Ryan said coldly. "That the market dipped, that there was nothing left. So I took out loans, worked 16-hour days just to keep up." Mom opened her mouth, but he cut her off. "You made me feel like a burden, like it was my fault I needed help, while you sat on a trust that was meant for me." Dad tried to reason. "Ryan, we had expenses. Your sister—" "No," Ryan slammed his glass down. "Don't bring her into this. You stole from me, from Morgan, from all of us." And for the first time in my life, my brother didn't look composed. He looked betrayed, just like me. Caitlin had been silent, head down. Phone clutched in her lap. She hadn't touched her dessert. But now she looked up, and the look on her face, it wasn't anger. It was devastation. "Wait," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. Grandma, you set up a trust for me too? Grandma nodded gently. All three of you. College, grad school, whatever you needed. Caitlin's lips parted slightly. Her voice trembled. They told me we couldn't afford my master's, said tuition was too high, that I needed to grow up and let go of my silly dream. No one moved. I almost dropped out last semester, she continued, because I thought I was a burden. Her voice cracked. I thought I was the problem. She turned to our parents, her voice rising for the first time. You let me believe that. You made me feel guilty for having ambition, while the money was sitting there waiting for me. Mom whispered, we just wanted you to be realistic. No, Caitlin snapped. You wanted me to give up. And in her eyes, I saw the same thing I'd seen in the mirror just hours before, the moment when trust finally breaks. After that, no one spoke for a long time. The only sounds were the soft clinks of silverware against porcelain and the quiet hum of a family crumbling in real time. Morgan, Ryan, Caitlin. 3 different paths, 3 different stories, but now one shared truth. We were all lied to. Ryan leaned forward first. They didn't just take money, he said almost to himself. They took time, years of struggle that didn't have to happen. Caitlin nodded slowly, voice hollow. They let us break ourselves just to stay afloat, while they used our funds to redecorate the kitchen. I looked at both of them, and for the first time, I didn't feel alone in the pain. They made us feel weak, I said, like we were the problem, like we failed. Ryan sighed, rubbing his face. But we didn't. They did. Caitlin added quietly, they let us drown while they kept the lifeboat hidden. We sat there stunned. 3 grown children, each one carrying a wound we didn't put on ourselves. Each one finally seeing the truth for what it was. This wasn't just bad parenting, it was betrayal, with receipts. When Grandma Elaine stood up, the entire room shifted. She didn't raise her voice, she didn't need to. Her words were ice, and somehow that was worse. I trusted you, she said to my mother and father. I trusted you to care for my grandchildren, not exploit them. Mom opened her mouth, but Grandma held up one hand. Don't you dare say a word. She turned to my dad. And you stood by and let it happen. Neither of them spoke. For 5 years, I sent money to help your daughter, and you lied, you stole, and you let her suffer. Grandma's voice dropped lower, heavier. You are not struggling parents. You are not victims of circumstance. You are thieves who stole from their own children. Silence fell. Then she said it calm but final. Effective immediately, I will no longer provide either of you with a single cent. My mother gasped. Mother, please, you can't be serious. Dead serious, Grandma replied. You betrayed your own blood, and from this moment forward, the only people I will financially support are my grandchildren. The next morning, Grandma called me. No drama, no guilt, just calm clarity. Morgan, I've already spoken with my attorney, she said. From now on, all financial assistance meant for you goes directly to you, not through your parents, not through anyone. I blinked. Tears pooled in my eyes, not from sadness, but relief. We're setting up a new account, Grandma continued. It'll be under your name, you'll have full access, monthly transfers completely transparent. I'm doing the same for Ryan and Caitlin. I sat in silence for a moment. This wasn't just money. This was trust. This was someone finally believing in me without strings, without manipulation. I should have done this years ago, Grandma said quietly. I was too trusting, too naive. No, I said, my voice breaking. You're the only one who did the right thing. That day, the first direct deposit hit my account, and for the first time in years, I could breathe. She didn't shout. She didn't scream. Instead, Grandma Elaine opened her laptop. "Let's look at the past 5 years," she muttered. Click, scroll, download, receipts, bank statements, wire transfers. At first, she thought it was just $2,000 a month, a modest helping hand. But the more she dug, the more the rot revealed itself. There were birthday funds she had sent, never received, emergency medical money that never made it to the ER, education grants that somehow never reached the schools, $25,000 here, $15,000 there, another $70,000 listed under furnishing expenses. It added up, and when she sat back and looked at the total, $386,900, almost $400,000, gone. Her hands shook, not from age, but from betrayal. "They didn't just steal from their kids," she whispered. "They stole from me, too." But she didn't call them. She didn't yell. She just quietly printed everything out and added one final line to the last page. "This is what silence cost me." It started with a letter. Just a single envelope in their mailbox. From the bank, final notice. Mortgage default. Then came the second. Your vehicle is subject to repossession. Then a third. Your credit limit has been reduced to $200. One by one, their pillars of comfort crumbled. No more $6,000 leather recliners. No more catered parties. No more last-minute vacations on miles. My parents, the couple who once flaunted stability in every family photo, were now drowning. And the tide wasn't stopping. Mom tried applying for a loan, but their credit score was in the 400s. Dad called in favors, but everyone had already heard the story. They weren't victims, they were exposed. And as their world shrank, as rooms emptied and shelves collected dust, they realized something brutal. We've burned every bridge we ever stood on. A handwritten letter came in the mail, no return address, but we knew it was from them. The first line read, "We did it for you, for all of you. We were trying to give you the life we couldn't have." I read it out loud. Caitlin snorted. Ryan clenched his jaw. Page 2 said, "We never meant to hurt anyone, but don't we deserve some comfort too? After everything we sacrificed? Comfort? They drove Teslas. We walked to work. They installed marble countertops. We skipped meals to pay rent. They said it was for the family, but the only ones who benefited were them." We weren't angry anymore. We were numb. There are some betrayals so deep no apology can reach them, especially not the ones that come after the spotlight's turned off, after the lies stopped working, after the money's all gone. We sat around the old kitchen table, the same table where lies were served with lasagna, where fake smiles hid theft. Now it was silent. They waited for forgiveness, for a flicker of the old family. But Morgan didn't flinch. She looked up, not at them, but through them. And then she spoke. "Love isn't deception with good intentions." Pause. "If this is what you call family, then I choose something else." Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't water. "I'm not angry anymore," she added, "but I won't let myself be used ever again." She stood, walked away, and in that moment, the past didn't disappear, but it stopped controlling her. Some doors don't slam shut. They just close. Forever. For the first time in years, Morgan opened her laptop without a pit in her stomach. No more wondering if the rent would bounce. No more rationing noodles for a week. The money that was always meant for her was finally in her hands. She didn't splurge. She invested. New software, a high-end monitor, a proper office chair, and a part-time assistant to help with projects she used to pull all-nighters for. Morgan's graphic design business, once just a side hustle to survive, was now a brand. She wasn't just working to survive anymore. She was building something with her name on it, something no one could take. And for the first time, when she looked at her bank account, she didn't feel shame. She felt sovereignty. Ryan had the degree, the six-figure job, the corner office, but it never felt like his. Every decision had been tailored to make their parents proud. So when everything collapsed, he finally asked himself, what would I do if no one was watching? 6 months later, Ryan opened his own consulting firm, smaller, slower, saner. He worked with startups, nonprofits, helped people who reminded him of Morgan, and every time he left his modest office, he felt something new, peace. Caitlin, too, chose freedom. She walked into the admissions building, asked for her grad school file back. "You still want this?" the clerk asked. "More than ever," she said. She reapplied, got in, and this time she wasn't doing it to impress anyone. She studied because she believed in it. She smiled without asking permission. The three siblings finally walking their own paths, not in rebellion, not in guilt, just in truth. They didn't make a pact, no pinky swears, no dramatic vows over wine and candles. But every Friday night, they found themselves at the same coffee shop. No one said, "Let's make this a thing." But it became one. They talked about work, about dreams, about that weird noise Ryan's car kept making. Sometimes they said nothing at all and just sat in peace. No guilt trips, no manipulation, no walking on eggshells, just existence. 3 adult siblings, 3 survivors, 3 souls rebuilt from ashes and choosing each other. Not because they had to, not because blood said so, but because healing needs space. And sometimes healing needs coffee and cinnamon rolls at 6 p.m. on a Friday. It arrived in a thick, cream-colored envelope. No return address, no apology on the outside. Inside, a 3-page letter, handwritten, neat, too neat. It was from their parents. They called it a letter of reflection, but it was really a defense. We only wanted what's best for the family. It was never malicious. You don't understand the pressures we faced. No mention of the lies. No real admission of theft. Just, "We're sorry you felt that way." Morgan read it in silence. Ryan tossed it on the counter. Caitlin burned hers without a word. It wasn't closure. It wasn't change. It was too little, too late, and too calculated. Because some people don't apologize to heal. They apologize to reset the narrative, to rewrite history. But the siblings had moved on, and they knew healing doesn't need their permission. She didn't owe them a meeting. But she showed up anyway, not to forgive, not to scream, just to finish the sentence they never let her complete. They met at a quiet diner, far from the house she used to call home. Her father looked thinner, her mother wore less makeup, but their eyes still calculating. "We're so glad you came, sweetheart," her mother said, reaching out. Morgan didn't flinch, didn't smile. She placed a photo on the table, a picture of her new studio, her team, her life. "I came to say this once," she said calmly. "You don't get to rewrite who I am anymore." They blinked. "I'm not angry. I'm not here to fight. But I am no longer the child you could manipulate with guilt and silence." A pause, a breath. "This is goodbye." She stood, left her tea untouched, and walked out not as a daughter, but as her own person. Change doesn't always come with a bang. Sometimes it walks in quietly. It doesn't beg for forgiveness. It doesn't announce itself with flowers or tears. Real change doesn't live in apology letters. It lives in the space after, where actions either prove growth or prove we've learned nothing. Morgan never got the ending she used to wish for. No perfect family dinner, no heartfelt confessions, but she got something better, a mirror, a voice, a life that belonged to her. And as she walked forward past the guilt, past the lies, past the roles she never asked to play, she whispered not to them but to herself, "I am no longer who they tried to keep small." Because real change is not a single moment, it's a choice, made quietly, repeated daily, lived loudly. Sometimes the people who say they love you will also be the ones who hurt you the most, not because they don't love you, but because they think love gives them permission to control you. But love without respect is not love, and forgiveness without change is just permission for the cycle to repeat. Real family isn't made of blood, it's made of trust. It's made of people who show up, stand by you, and never steal your voice. You owe no loyalty to betrayal. You owe yourself the chance to break free and begin again. If this story touched something in you, if it made you remember, reflect, or rethink what family means, then don't just scroll away. Subscribe to Whispers of Life, where stories speak the truths many are too afraid to say. Because sometimes a story is all it takes to change someone's life. Let that someone be you.